A warm welcome to everyone. Good evening. Good evening. It's always a good pleasure to see you, to come and be live and help each other. It's a good, epic, blessed Tuesday. Without wasting much time, if you're new, please don't forget to subscribe, comment, and hit the bell so that the notification bell so that when we are live, you're always notified. All right, today we'll be doing just quick few questions on financial maths and on probability so that we can assist each other. There are few people who say that they want help in financial maths and in probability. Don't be that much. Gonna try to make it short. Don't be that much. We'll try to make it short. All right. Okay, let's start with financial maths first. Let's start with financial maths first. Yeah. Financial maths. I'll start it from grade 11. I'll take it from grade 11. And we're gonna write a few things which are so essential. So financial maths is basically the basic idea behind it is for you to be able to calculate the future amount, to be able to calculate interest. It's about basically what happens on day-to-day lives. So basically the first one in grade 11 we taught about simple formulas. I'm going to write them down so that when we are doing some questions they will be able to assist us. We were taught on how to calculate simple interest, and we're told that the simple interest is calculated by A, which is equal to P1 plus IN. Bear in mind that A is the accumulated amount. It is the accumulated amount. Then P is the principal amount. Then N is the number of years, or let me just say the period. I is the interest rate. So please always bear in mind that these are the things which these things are representing. So this was the first formula which we were taught in grade 11 on how to calculate simple interest. Then formula number 2, we're taught on how to calculate compound interest. On compound interest, that's when now we were taught that it is compounded yearly, quarterly, monthly, semi-yearly. So those things are so essential because you must be able to detect and know that when they say yearly, which means you have to divide the number of months by yearly, and then when they say monthly you have to divide by 12 because a year has 12 months. When they say quarterly, you have to divide by number of months of a year, which is 4. When they say halfly or semi-yearly, which means you have to divide by 6, which is then half the number of years. So you must number of a year. So we must always know that a year has 12 months. So since it has 12 months, when they say semi, which means it's half, which is 6 months. When they say quarterly, which means the quarter of 12, it's 3. When they say so that's how it goes as always. So always when you're dealing with compound interest, you must be able to notice that when you are on the number of n, you have to divide by the number of the things which they are telling. If they say compounded annual, which means you just have to divide by 1. But when they say divide compound monthly, which means you have to divide the number of years divided by the number of months a year has, and a year has 12 months. So always when you hear compound interest, compound depreciation, always apply the same thing. You have to divide the number of years by the number which it is compoundly have been. Okay, so the formula of compound interest says that A is equal to P 1 plus I to the power n. P, A, I, and N, they still represent the same thing. The number 3 formula which we were taught about simple depreciation. Simple depreciation. So on simple depreciation, we know that basically, just to give you an overview of what depreciation is, when you buy a car, for instance, just making a quick example, when you buy a car, it depreciates. The moment you drive it out of the company car, it has already been depreciated. That's why sometimes now even you can check on cell phones. When the phone is still new, maybe you buy a Samsung A20, it's approximately 3.6, 3.5. But now, after you've used it maybe 2 or 3 days, when now you go and sell it to someone, you sell it 2,000, which means it has depreciated. It no longer have its original value. Why? Because you have used it. So basically, depreciation is trying to give us that when you use something, it depreciates. Even if you bought it 100,000, the moment you use it, it was already depreciated, and its value will decrease the moment you use it. The moment you always use it, always know that it has been depreciated. So now let's move forward now, and now let's write the formula of simple depreciation. So simple depreciation, as we say that we have simple interest. See, we're gonna have our simple depreciation to be A is equal to P 1 minus I N. Now the difference is that it's I minus I N. Number 4, we have compound depreciation as well. We have compound depreciation. Compound, we always know that A is equal to P 1 minus I to the power of N. Then now we are taught about these things which is most important. They usually ask it about the nominal and the effective annual interest rate. So the nominal and the annual interest rate is calculated by using the formula that we know that 1 plus I must be equal to 1 plus I effective. Sorry, let me just write I if here. Then I norm over M times M, where M is the number of months. This was grade 11. Now coming to grade 12 now. Coming to grade 12. In grade 12, we were taught about only 3 or 4 formulas which are so important. So the first formula, we were taught about calculating the future value of payments. As it says, the future value of payments. The future, which means we are looking at the future value of the payments. How much will be this thing in 10 years to come? How much will you pay after 15 years to come? How much will you pay after this period of time will come? For instance, if you buy a fridge, maybe maybe the original price is 10,000. I'm making an example. Then maybe now you buy it and deposit cash, and then you labor it and pay it. Then after 10 months, after 2 years, how much will you pay? The future amount, the total amount you're gonna pay, including the interest rate. You will see that maybe you paid 20,000. You double the amount of the initial amount which you're gonna pay when you're gonna buy with cash. So basically, we have what we call the future value of payments. So the formula of that, it's F, which is representing the future amount, is equal to X, which means the initial money which you paid. Then we have 1 plus the interest rate to the power n minus 1 all divided by I. Always know that n and I, they still represent the same thing. N is representing the period, I is representing the interest rate. Okay, cool. So now maybe if they ask you to calculate the value of x, let's just say the payment amount. Maybe you're supposed to pay 4,000 a month so that you can be able to acquire and finish your amount. So this is the future amount. X is representing the payment amount, which you can pay every month, every now and then, so that you can be able to cover your credit. So the payment amount, if they ask you to calculate S, it's easy. Your X will always be equal to F times I, all divided by 1 plus I to the power n minus 1. So this is the formula to calculate the payment amount under the future amount value. So if you calculate the value of X, you calculate the value of X by just transposing, you cross multiply, sorry, then you have F times I, then you divide by anything which is there on X, so that you can be left with X as the subject of the formula. Now we have what we call now the present value of payments. So the present value of payments is now when you take a loan. When you hear any word like loan or borrowing, use this formula always. When they're hearing you have borrowed something, loan, use this formula which I'm about to give you now. P is equal to X 1 minus 1 plus I to the power of negative n, all divided by I. The formula doesn't change. It's always like this. Formula doesn't change. So anyway, when you hear anything about the loan, use this formula, use this equation. All right. Then now when you want to calculate the value of X, the same thing, you cross multiply and make your X be the subject of the formula to prevent time loss. So these are the equations which were taught in grade 12. So basically, financial maths is where you can catch marks, because that the answer which you get in A is the one which you're supposed to use in B, is also the one which you get in B is the one also you are supposed to get in C. The one which you get in C is something which also must apply in D. So those answers, they are always recurring. And bear in mind that it's so important that you know which formula to use. So when you hear anything about a loan, don't hesitate. Just use the this second formula which I told you, which is the present value of a payment. The moment you hear anything about a loan, use this formula. It's gonna be able to be helpful to you. All right. Now, let me show you something. When you scroll down on your question paper, you don't have to know this formula by head, but you just have to know how to apply it. Because on your question paper, let me just show you something fast. Okay. On your question paper, at the back of your question paper, you are given what we call formula, the information sheet or the formula sheet when you're writing your final exams. So you can see that this is the compound interest, this is the compound this is the simple interest, sorry, this is the simple depreciation, this is the compound depreciation, this is the compound interest. And now we are also, let's check, now we have this one which is called the future value, and we also have the present value. So this one, we say the second one, which is P. When you hear anything about borrowing, when you hear anything about balance, when you hear anything about loan, use this equation. When you have something about the future, you use this equation so that you can attain correct values and correct answers. Okay, without wasting much time now, so the formula sheet, you always have the formula sheet with you, even when you are dealing with number patterns. You see this one is the Tnth of an arithmetic, this one is the Tnth of the geometric, this is the sum of the numbers in an arithmetic series, this is the sum of the numbers in a geometric series, this is the sum to infinity in a geometric. So basically all the formulas, you are given them all the formulas you are given them, all the formulas you are given them, which are so important and forgettable. Even last time we were doing calculus, this is the formula for calculus according to the first principles. So you don't have to worry too much about those kind of formulas, but be able to apply them. Also, the calculating the quadratic formula. This is the quadratic formula. You're also given it as well. So you just have to be able to apply it. These are identities. Everything you are given them on your formula sheet. Okay. Now let's start with our question. The first question of today, question 7. Let's start with question 7, the question of today. Let's start with question 7, the question of today. All right. On question 7, let's read together. On 1st June 2016, a bank granted Thabiso a loan of 250,000 at an interest rate of 15% per annum, compounded monthly. Take note of that. It's compounded monthly. To buy a car. A bank granted Thabiso a loan. Also underline that. So as I'm reading, please take note of the way I'm even reading. So the first time you can just read, on 1st June, a bank granted Thabiso a loan of 250,000 at an interest rate of 15% per annum compounded monthly to buy a car. Thabiso agreed to repay the loan in monthly installments commencing on the 1st of July and ending 4 years later on 1 June 2020. However, Thabiso was unable to make the first 2 installments and only commenced with the monthly installments on 1st September 2016. So now you have read it firstly. Now we are going to read it the second time now. And we have to apply what we know now. All right. Let me just write question 7. Okay, so let's go now. On 1st June 2016, a bank granted Thabiso a loan at an interest rate of 15% per annum, compounded monthly. So we have to take note of that. We have to take note of that it is the bank which gave Thabiso, they gave him a loan, and it was given an interest rate which was compounded monthly. So now okay, compounded monthly, which means a year has 12 months. So whatever the number of period of years which you are given, we have to divide by 12 because it is compounded monthly. But okay, let's proceed. Now, moving forward from that, we can proceed reading it now. Then they say, Thabiso agreed to repay the loan. The moment you see the loan, we say that, don't be afraid. We know that you're going to use which equation? We're going to use this equation. Always, when you hear anything about the loan, use this equation. P is equal to X, open square bracket, 1 minus 1 plus I to the power negative N over I. Always, it's always the case. The moment you hear that they tell you about someone being granted a loan, use that equation. There is always a mark for equation. Please, 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 please use that equation. Okay, now let's go to 7.1. Let's go to 7.1. Okay, on 7.1, they say calculate the amount Thabiso owed the bank on 1st August, a month before paid his first monthly installment. So now, let me do something, sort of like a timeline. So Thabiso was supposed to start paying on the 1st of July. But due to unforced situations, he was not able to pay in July, and he started to pay 2 months later. So we have July, August, September. So July, he didn't pay. August, he didn't pay. Then he decided to pay on the 1st of September till the last, after his 4 years. Okay. So now he was not able to pay these two months because of some unforeseen situations and circumstances, so he was not able to pay for those first 2 months. So you must have something like a timeline so that it can guide you. So this 2 months he didn't pay, but the interest rate was always there. The moment you are given a loan, even if you're not able to pay, the interest is always there, compounded monthly. So now the first question on 7.1 is saying, calculate the amount Tabiso owed the bank on the 1st of August, a month before he paid his first monthly installment. So we say that he didn't pay for 2 months. So for those 2 months which he didn't pay, let's calculate how much did he owe before he started to pay his amount in September. So we know that this is going to be, we saw that the interest rate is compounded monthly. So we're going to use the compound interest formula. So compound interest formula says A is equal to P 1 plus I O to the power of N. What is our I? Our I is the 15%, which is compounded monthly. So we said that if they say that 15% compounded monthly, which means automatically it's going to be 15% is 0.15 divided by 12, because a year has 12 months. So it's compounded monthly. Don't forget to divide by 12 that side. What is our N? Our N is 2 months. Then the principal amount, the money which he had to pay, it's 250,000. Okay, then we use our calculator now. Using your calculator, you must get 256,289.06 cents. So this is the money which he owed the bank for those 2 months which he didn't pay. So that's the money which he owed the bank for those 2 months he didn't pay. All right, let's move forward now. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask. Please don't hesitate to ask if you have any question. All right, great. So now, moving on 7.2. On 7.2, having paid the first monthly installments on the 1st of September, Tabiso will still pay his monthly installment on 1st June 2020. Let me just, yes. So he's going to pay his last monthly installment on the 1st June 2020. Calculate his monthly installment. So how are we going to calculate the monthly installment? They've already told that they want the value of X. We know that he was given a loan. So automatically, the moment we hear that he was given a loan, we know that we're going to use the present formula, which says that P is equal to X, 1 minus 1 plus I, O to the power negative N, O divided by your I. All right. So we want to know how much he's going to pay now. We want to know how much he's going to pay. Okay, let's first convert. He is supposed to pay for 4 years, right? So 4 years, if you convert 4 years into months, you're going to have 4 times 12, because 1 year has 12 months. So 4 years is 4 times 12. Then you get 48 months. So he was supposed to pay 48 for 48 months. But due now to him not being able to pay for the first 2 months, so we have to now to subtract. Your N now must be 48 minus 2. Then you get 46, because he was not able to pay for the first 2 months. All right. So now let's calculate now. Calculating now, we know that to calculate the his monthly installment, we know that we are calculating the value of X. So we already written the formula of the formula which we are going to use, which is the present formula, since we saw that he was granted a loan. Since we saw that he was granted a loan, we use this formula. So without wasting time, we're gonna go now and write. We're gonna calculate for our X. We say that X, you still remember here, we say the value of X is calculated by this. So you just use this straightforward formula. So we're gonna use the formula which says equal to P times I, O divided by 1 minus 1 plus I, O to the power negative N. What is our P? Our P is the money you was already owing the bank for those 2 months, which you calculated in A. So when I say that initially, that the answer which you get on 7.1 is the answer which is supposed to be used sometimes is supposed to be used in the next question. The answer which you get there is the something which you're gonna use also. It's a continuous thing. So since we know that our P is 256,289 rands, 06 cents. And what is our interest? Our interest is 15%. Don't forget that it's 15%. 15% is 0.15. Let me just write it here so that you can see that as well. Our I is equal to 15%, and 15% is the 15 divided by, it's the same as 15 divided by 100, which is the same as 0.15. So that we having 0.15 divided by 12, because you said it is compounded monthly. So since it is compounded monthly, you have to divide the period divided by 12. The interest rate, sorry, divided by 12. Then what is our period? We said the period now is going to change to 40 to 46 since the first 2 months it didn't pay. So we're going to write negative, Then we come here downstairs. Here we have 1 minus 1 plus. What is our I? Our I is still 0.15 divided by 12. And what is our N now? It's negative 46. Then you use your calculator to find the value of X. So me using my calculator, I end up having 7,359.79 per month. So Tabiso is going to pay 7,359 rands 79 cents per month. So just to recap again, rewind again on this situation, we said that the moment we had that he was granted a loan, which means we are supposed to use the present value formula, which says that P is equal to X, open bracket, open the square bracket, 1 minus 1 plus I, all to the power negative N divided by I. And we also highlighted the fact that this formula is given to you on the formula sheet on your final exams. They give you this formula on the final back of the formula of your question paper. So please, if you forget it, just use this at the back of your formula. You're gonna find the formula sheet. Then now we say that the first 2 months he was not able to pay. So the original number of years, the period, actually, let me say the period, the way you were supposed to pay, it was 48 months. We converted 4 years into months because it is compounded monthly. So when we converted that into 4 years into months, we were able to get 4 times 12. Then we get 48 months. But since he was not able to pay for the first 2 months, in other words, he skipped 2 months. Now we have to subtract to the final. Then we said 48 minus 2 months, which he was not able to pay. Then we ended up having 46. So this was the number of our. This is the period 46. But now, for those 2 months which he didn't pay, the money accumulated, because when the money is in the bank, it is always going to continue being charged on its continuous interest rate. So the continuous interest rate, which was it's continued for that second 2 months, for those 2 months. So those are the 2 months now, which now we ended up having 256,289.06, which we calculated initially on number 7.1 using the compound interest formula. Then after that, you calculate your payment month, your monthly payment. Then we ended up having 7,359. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask your question. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask. Okay, now let's move on to 7.3. Okay. On 7.3, if Chabiso paid 9,000 as his monthly installment starting on the 1st of September 2016, how many months sooner will he repay the loan? So now, seeing that question now, again, we're going to use our principal equation because he was given a loan, which says P equal to X, 1 minus 1 plus I, all to the power negative N divided by I. So now, What is our P? Our P is 256, 256,289 rand, 06, which is equal to, now he's gonna pay 9,000 every month so that he can cover his debt early, you know, in less months or in less period of time in which you are supposed to pay initial. So bear in mind that initially he paid 7,359 a month, and it was able, he paid that money for 46 months. Now since he's now paying an increased money monthly, he's now paying 9,000. How many months is he gonna pay this his credit? So this is the question which they are asking him. For instance, if you buy maybe a TV, you take a TV maybe in any furniture shop, then it's 6,000. Then after that, you pay 2,000. You are supposed to pay 2,000 every month for 2 years. I'm making an example. No, actually for a year. Logical expression. For a year, you pay 2,000 every month. But now you decide, no, man, I have money. Let me at least increase my man. Let me pay 4,000 per month. Let's see. So how many now? Which means basically, if you increase the money which you pay per month, the period is gonna decrease because you are paying more, and the period now it has to decrease because it's gonna cover your debt early. So that's the same question which you are having this side. So since now he's paying more money, he's now paying 9,000. We have to calculate now how many months sooner will he be able to pay our sorry, let me just remove something here. So 9,000, we have 1 minus 1 plus, what is our I? Our I, we said it's compounded monthly. What is our N? Is the one which we are calculating, divided by our I, which is still compounded monthly. All right. So if we use our calculator here, we know that we have to cross multiply, and this we'll cross multiply with this one, then we divide with 9,000. Let me just show you step by step so that you see it through. But now we are just applying our skills to solve this. So it's gonna be 256,289 over 06 multiply by 0.15 divided by 12. It will divide by 9,000, and it will be equal to 1 plus 0.15 divided by 12 negative n. Then using your calculator this side, you will get let me use my calculator as well. Then you'll get 0.644042972. Always know that you don't round off until you reach your final answer. Always don't round off until you reach your final answer, otherwise you have a wrong answer. Now we were also taught about log, so we can apply log here. So applying log on both sides is gonna be log of 0.644042972 is equal to negative n log of 1 plus 0.15 divided by 12. Then we want n, then you divide by log of 1 plus 0.15 over 12. We also divide on the other side as well by log of 0.15 divided by 12. Then what happens is that this one and this one will cancel each other. Then we're left with negative n. Then after that, we're gonna have, using your calculator this side, you're gonna have use your calculator and you end up having 35 comma 41872568 is equal to negative n. Divide by both sides by negative, we end up having positive n, which is equal to 35,41872568. You see, I didn't round off. But now having in mind. So how many months will he pay? He will only pay 36 months. 36 months. He will pay, therefore, he will only pay for 36 months. Because he cannot pay, you see, 35 months, then you pay half, maybe like a month is 30 days, then you pay on the 1st and you pay on the 15th. You pay that entire month, but his money now, you will have a little money and you will be given balance. So now you pay for 36 months. You will pay for 36 months. Okay, that was our question. Now moving forward, let's see if we really answered everything. Okay, how many months sooner we will pay? How many months sooner? So therefore, you are supposed to pay for 46 months. When you subtract 36, you get 10 months. So he's gonna pay it 10 months sooner because he's gonna pay it for 36 months. Now, let's go to our last question. Our last question is that if Tabiso paid 9,000 as a monthly installment starting on the 1st September 2016, calculate the final installment to repay the loan. Calculate the final installment to repay the loan. So now basically here we are asked to calculate the balance. Here we are asked to calculate the balance. Okay, let's calculate the balance now. We have to know that 7.4. We also have to know that our N will be equal to 36. It will be, our N now is now going to be equal to the answer which we see. You still remember initially on number 7.3, we calculated and we were able to find 35.41872568. So now that answer which we found initially is the answer which we need here, because we have to say now 35,4187 2568 minus 35. Okay, why? Because we want to calculate now that fraction. You see, that fraction, how much is going to pay for that fraction, the balance of that fraction. Then we're going to end up having our N to be 0,41872568. So now we can calculate now. Now we can calculate, and we know that the loan formula P is equal to 1 minus 1 plus I all to the power negative N divided by I. Okay, now we want to calculate the amount he's going to pay. Bear in mind that he's going to pay the entire month, so we also have to include 1 plus the interest of that balance. The amount of money is going to pay for that balance. So it's going to be 1 minus 1 plus 0,15 divided by 12 negative negative this fraction, because we want to calculate for that fraction. Please don't forget that. So calculating for the fraction will be 0.41872568. Please, I beg you guys, please don't round off before the final answer. You're gonna end up having the wrong final answer. So you use the formula. Then now on the value of N, now you're going to put the fraction. That's a quarter month which he has to pay. The balance which you'll be left with at that moment. So that balance, then after that you add with its interest rate, because as it's staying in the bank, there's always an interest rate. So this is our interest rate, simple interest rate. Then now we can use our calculator. Then when you use our calculator, you have to get 3,782.14. That will be your answer. When you use our calculator, you will get that answer. When we use our calculator, we get that answer. All right. So that is us for us today on financial maths. That was us for financial maths today. Let's do something on probability. Let's do probability now. Let's do probability. All right. On probability now, let's just move down to probability. The last question, question 11. On probability, we were taught about few things in probability. We have to understand that when we are told to calculate probability, it's basically, it has 5 or 6 formulas which you just have to know by head. So these formulas, let me just write them down for you right now. So we have P, A, or B. The probability of A or B is all equal to probability of A plus probability of B minus the probability of the intersection. Right, minus the probability of the intersection of the two of them. So this is the first one which we have. This is the first one which we have. The second one, we have P, A, or B of mutual exclusive. When you're talking of mutual exclusive events, which means those events, they cannot happen at the same time. In other words, they don't intersect. So if they don't intersect, which means P, probability of A and B will be 0. So there's no use for us to say minus 0 because they don't intersect. So this is for you to be able to calculate for mutually exclusive. I think they usually ask, why are they mutually exclusive? So that's your reason why they are mutually exclusive. It is only because of that. All right. So now, moving forward, number 1, number 2. So on the second formula, the complementary rule. Okay, the complementary rule is that states that not A, not B, which means if they say not B, which means they want the other one. So now, for instance, when they say P, not A, which means they want you to say 1 minus the probability of A. All right. This can be represented by A like this, which means not A. So when they say probability of not A, they want 1 minus the probability of A. When they say probability of not B, they want the probability of 1 minus not the probability of B. It's always that, it's always the scenario. Then we have number 4, we have the product of independent events. Of A and B. So the product of independent events, it will be A and B now. All right. So the probability of A and B is always equal to the probability of A times probability of B. That's grade 10 and grade 11. Then now in grade 12, we were taught and were introduced to counting in probability. So when we're introduced to counting in probability, we were taught about the factorial notation. We were taught about the factorial notation, and we end up saying that n factorial times, we're also taught about the factorial notation, which is so important, so much important, because n factorial will be n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 times etc. For instance, let me make an example first. The example is that a simple first question example. The example which I have is that when they say 8 factorial, it's the same as 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 2 times etc. Because you said it's n is 8. Then n minus 1, 8 minus 1 is 7. So basically, when we are using the factorial notation, we are going back. So if they say 9 factorial, so it's going to be 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times going down. So that's the factorial notation. It's so essential that you understand the factorial notation. Then now, without wasting much time, let's do more questions on this factorial notation. It's so important that you understand it. The counting of things in grade 12, it's so important. Let me just do a quick example so that you get a hint of what I'm talking about. Okay, so sometimes they might say that 8 athletes take part in a 400-meter race. Then in how many different ways can the first 3 places be arranged? Okay, so how many, I'm just doing an example, how many different ways, we are counting, guys, how many different ways can the first places be seated? So bear in mind that they are 8 athletes. You know, when you are running, there are first 3 awards which are given. You are given the gold medal, the silver medal, and the bronze medal. So they want these 3 to be given to students. So they are now asking, how many different ways, if we can look, how many different ways can these 3 places be accommodated by the student? They are 8. So what are the chances? Let me just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now, what are the chances of these 3? The different ways in which these 3 seats can be accommodated. So no one knows who can win. So basically, since we said there are 8 athletes, which means 8 of them, they have an opportunity to be number 1, because we don't know who is going to win. So 8 of them, 8 of the entire athletes, they're going to be number 1. So one of them in the 8 students, they'll be number 1. So when we remove that number 1, now we are left with, we have already have number 1. Now we want number 2. We are left now with 7 students, 7 athletes. And also, on the second place, all those 7 students which are left, or 7 athletes which are left, they have an opportunity to be number 2. So basically, we also have number 7. Then 2 are gone. We have the first place and the second place. Now we want the bronze one, the 3rd place for the athletes. All the 6 students or the 6 athletes which are left as well, they have an opportunity or a chance to be number 3. So 6 as well. So basically now, if they ask you to calculate the different way, you can just calculate the saying 8 times 7 times 6, because these are that's how you do it. So basically, there are 8 athletes, but they only want to give 3 people an award. No one knows who's gonna be number 1. So in these 8 students or in these 8 athletes, we know that any one of them in the 8 athletes can be number 1. So that's why we're saying there are 8 different ways. There are 8 chances for the position of number 1. Then if we have number 1 now, which means we no longer have this, we no longer have this seat. Which means we no longer have this, we no longer have this seat. We are left with how many? We are left with 7. But we still need number 2. We don't know, maybe the one which is the last one in the left 7 athletes which are left is going to overtake others. So how many chances are we left with for the second position? There are 7, because there are still 7 people who are still in the field. So now we are done with this one. We are now left with the 3rd place. There are 6 students which are still in the field. We don't know who is going to be the number 3rd one. So what do? There are 6 outcomes. There are 6 chances that they will be number 3. So that's how you do it. Then you can calculate now 7 times 8 times 7 is 48. Yeah, it's 8 times 6 is 48. Then 48 times 7, it's 336. So you have 336 ways. If you have an ask question, please do ask. Please do ask if you have any question. All right. I was just doing an example. Let me just do an example too, so that I can give you an overview, guys. So maybe let's say in how many, just try to formulate an equation. How many And it's saying, how many ways can 7 boys of different 7 boys of different ages be seated on a bench, if now let's say my first one, if the youngest boy sits next to the older one. Okay, the youngest and the older one won't sit together. I'm just trying to formulate a question for you guys so that you can have a clear image of what's happening here. So now this one is a different scenario. It's a total different question. All right. So since this one is a different question, this is our last example. I want to read this question again. So I write down and say that, in how many ways can 7 boys of different ages be seated on a bench? So we are having how many boys? Let's just solution. We are having 7 boys. B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, and B7. These are permutations, guys. So we are having 7 boys who are seated on the bench. 7 boys, which means, in other words, there are 7 places for them to sit on the bench. But now the youngest sits next to the older boy. So now calculate how many ways can these 7 boys be seated on the bench if the youngest sits next to the older boy. So for instance, making something which is just fast right now. For instance, let's say that this is the younger one. I'm just making an example. Let's see now what's going to happen. We're going to now take, if they sit next to each other, which means this one we treat as 1, because they are sitting next to each other, which means they are 1. Since they are sitting next to each other, which means they are 1. We treat them as 1 because they are sitting next to each other. Then now let's count. How many boys are seated now? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have how many seats now? 6, because the younger boy and the older boy, they are seated next to each other. We will treat them as 1. So since we have 6 now, we're going to say we're going to have 6 factorial times. Now we now treat now, which is inside now, we have 2 factorial. Then you get 6 factorial times 2 factorial, get 1440 different ways. And that's 140 different ways. Let me repeat this question again. So we say that we have 7 places for the boys to sit on the bench. Or let me just make yes, on the bench. So now, if the younger boy and the older boy sit next to each other, how many different ways will they be able to sit on the bench? So now we say that these two, the younger one and the older one, we will treat them as 1 because they will be sitting next to each other. We will treat them as 1 person. Then now we now count now. So when we were counting, all right, when we were counting, we said it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Because the younger boy and the older boy are sitting next to each other, we are treating them as 1. So since we're treating them as 1, now we just count them as 1. That's why I even put a line on top so that we can see that I am treating it as 1. The younger boy and the older boy, I'm treating them as 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now we're going to have 6 factorial times 2 factorial. Bear in mind that 6 factorial means that 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And 2 factorial is 2 times 1. Always bear in mind, but always we can use our calculator. When you use your Casio, you always know that you have to use that Casio. Then you press, I don't have my Casio with me, but you have to press. I'll write it also in the description so that you can see where you are supposed to press so that you can know and be able to be assisted in that way. All right. Now, on my question example 2, which I gave you now. On example number 2, I say to you guys, okay, when you are using a Casio, you are supposed to press shift, then you press, there is this n factorial. I think it's next to this third button of, after you, there's an on button, then there's this one, then the third one there, it's an n factorial. You can even look at it, there is written n factorial. So you just have to press shift in that button, so that you can be able to write in a factorial way using your calculator without making something hilarious and taking much time. Okay, now my second question was saying that in how many different ways now can the different boys sit on the bench if the younger and the older boy won't sit together? Now the younger one and the old boy, they can't sit together. So that's now easy. If they were to sit together, we know that if they were not going to sit together, which means it's 7 factorial, which is the total. But now we have to subtract when they sit together. There are 7 factorial ways if they were not going to sit together. If they were going to sit randomly, we were not going to treat this one as 1. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 ways they can sit on the chair, on the bench, sorry. But now, we don't want them to sit together anymore. In other words, we are detaching them. We are treating them as 1. Now we are detaching them. So the total is 7 factorial. Now we have to subtract the ways in which they can sit together. And since we get that the ways they can sit together is initially 1,740, now we can be able to just subtract the 2 so that we can be able to proceed. I don't know if you can hear me clearly. If you have any question, please do ask your question so that we can deal with it together. Please do ask your question if you have a question. Then using your calculator, you're gonna get 3,600 ways. These are just few examples which are so important. I did 2 different examples. The first one when they were seated together, the second one when they are no longer seated together. Then the first question which I did here, counting. It was a counting principle. Now let's look at our question paper now. Let's look at on our question paper now. All right. On the question paper above, we are given this question 11. So now they say calculate the value of A. Oh, let me read it. A survey was conducted among 100 boys and 60 girls to determine how many of them watched TV in the period during which exams were written. Their responses are shown in the partially completed table below. So when they say it's a partial complete, which means it's incomplete. Okay, now calculate the value of A and B. Where is our A? Our A is here. We are given that they are males, and we are also given that we have females, and we are also given the totals. So there are 100 boys and 60 girls, which means the total of everyone is 160. Now we want to calculate the value of B. The value of B is the total of the students which watched the TV during exams, both male and female. So B, so your B, let me just write 11.1. Your B will be equivalent to 80 plus 48. Then 80 plus 40 is 120 plus 8. So it's going to have 128. So our B is going to be 128. How about our A? Our A, when we say A plus B, we're going to get the total, which is 32, of the students who did not watch TV. So basically our A, let me just write it like that. A plus 12 is equal to 32 because that's the total. So calculating our A will be equal to 20 because 32 minus 12. So basically our A is 20 and our B is 128. Now let's go on 11.2 now. On 11.2, all right. Are the events being a male? Where is being a male? This is being a male. And did not watch TV during exams, mutually exclusive. Being a male and. So in other words, they want the probability of being a male and watching TV. Bear in mind that, sorry. All right. So in other words, they want the probability of male and watching TV. So look at when you are having Venn diagrams. Venn diagrams having these two. This point is the intersection. This is the point when we say end. This point. But now, what are mutually exclusive events? Mutually exclusive events, they are those events that cannot happen at the same time. In other words, they don't intersect. So since now, the one here, when they say male end, so in other words, the probability of male and watch TV must be equal to 0 if they are mutually exclusive, because they don't intersect, they don't even happen together. So now, what are we gonna do now? Let's now prove that. Is it equal to 0? If it's not equal to 0, which means that they are not mutually exclusive. All right. So the probability of being a male, here I am. I go with it, and did not watch TV. It's here. So they intersect here at 20. So it's going to be 20 over 160. Is 20 over 160 equal to 0? No. It's not equal to 1. It's not equal to 0. So now you can say that, therefore, your answer is no. They are not mutually exclusive. Why are they not mutually exclusive? It is because the probability of being a male and did not watch TV, is not equivalent to 0. In order for them to be mutually exclusive, they must give you 0. So if they are not equal to 0, which means they are not mutually exclusive. Okay, now let's look at 11.1.3 here. 11.1.3. Now on 11.1.3, they say that if a learner who participated in the survey is chosen randomly, when they say randomly, you should always know that your probability now is going to be the number on top over the total of the entire class, the entire combined student, which is 160. So now they're saying that watch the TV in the period during which exams were written. Watch the TV. What is our B? Our B is 128. So now, in other words, we want the probability of you student watching so the total of people watching choosing randomly, there will be B. What is our B? We calculated it's 128 over 160. Then you can reduce it. When you reduce it, it's going to be 4 over 5, which is the same as 80%. So that will be your answer. Now let's go to 11.3.2. Now on 11.3.2, they are saying that is not a male and did not watch TV in the period. So we want the probability of not a male and did not watch. Didn't watch TV. So not a male. If it's not a male in our scenario which we are given here, if it's not a okay. Let's do our last question. All right. Now it's permutations now. Let's do our last question, guys. All right. The digits 1 to 7 are used to create a 4-bit code to enter a locked room. How many different codes are possible if the digits may not be repeated and the codes must be even numbers? Okay. On question 12, I want us to do it step by step. All right. We are having the numbers from 1 to, all right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, they are saying that the digits 1 to 7 are used to create a 4-digit code to enter a locked room. So we must create a 4-digit code. Let me just reduce this. So in other words, we are creating a 4-digit code. 1, 2. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we only need a 4-digit code. Now, how many different codes are possible if the digits may not be repeated? The digits, bear in mind, they can't be repeated, and the codes must be an even number. Now, in the numbers which you are given here, what are the even numbers? The even numbers is 2, 4, and 6. Even numbers. All right. Now, let's take the case that maybe the first digit is 6. If the first digit is 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. If the first digit is 6, what will be the chances for us to have here? We're going to have one chance. 5 and 4. All right, 5 and 4. Now, looking on 2, we have 2 chances. All right, we have 2 chances to have 2 because 4 and 2, so we have 2 here. So now the number of codes that are starting with 6. Number of codes that are starting with 6 will be equal to 1 times 5 times 4 times 2, which is equal to 1 times 5, it's 5, 5 times 4, it's 20, 20 times 4, it's 40. Now, if now the first digit is 5 and 7, let's not use and let's use or. If it's 5 or 7, so what's gonna happen? There are 2 chances for us to have 5 and 7 in the first code. We have 2 chances to have 5 or 7. What about other numbers? 2, 4, and 6. Those are the even numbers. So we have 3 chances to have them. Then in the between we have 5 and 4. Always 5 and 4. Remember? So what's important is the first one and the last one, because they say that the digits 1 to 7 are needed, are created for the 4-digit code to enter the code. How many different codes are possible if the digits may not be repeated and the code might be even numbers bigger than but that one? So, and after we do that, now we just have to say 2 times 5 times 4 times 3. Then we know that 12 times 5 it's 60 times 2 it's 120. We know that 120. So after we know that it's 120, now we have to conclude now the total number of possible codes. The total number of possible codes will be our 40 plus 120, which is equivalent to 160. So that will be our total number of codes. Permutation, guys, please listen to it carefully. It's so essential. I feel like it's not enough. Let me check this question also as well, so that we can do at least and more questions on this probability. It's a bit tricky and tough and always changes like weather. All right, let's do this question. This last question, please. Let's do this one last question, please. All right, so now question 10 is 2017 now. It's last question. A survey was conducted among 100 grade 12 learners about their use of Instagram, Twitter, and WhatsApp on their cell phone. The survey revealed the following: 8 use all three, 12 use Instagram and Twitter, 5 use Twitter and WhatsApp but not Instagram, X use Instagram and WhatsApp but not Twitter, 61 uses Instagram, 19 uses Twitter, 73 uses WhatsApp, 14 using none of these applications. Draw a Venn diagram to illustrate the above information. So the moment you see that they ask you to draw a Venn diagram, don't worry yourself, please. This is the last question I'm gonna do. So let's draw our Venn diagram. This is our Venn diagram. So we said that we have the students who love to use Instagram. We have a first circle. Let's just say it's Instagram. Then we have people who love to use Twitter. Then the last one, we have those who are like me, who love to use WhatsApp. Now, bear in mind that this portion, all of them, they intersect in this portion. These are the intersections, guys. All right. So let's start with the intersection first. Oh my word. Right? We say that the symbol it has 100. Symbol is 100. All right. So how many students love everything? Sorry. Okay, that's my Venn diagram. I for Instagram, T for Twitter, W for WhatsApp. So this portion is for those that have everything, that do everything, that have both Instagram, Twitter, and WhatsApp. All right. So in the information, we're told that 8 use all of the 3, which means we already have our 8 here. Now, we're also told that 14 doesn't use anything, which means they are outside the set. Now, let's start with, we are told that 61 uses Instagram, all right? So this is our Instagram, 61 uses Instagram. But now, 12 uses Instagram and Twitter. Instagram and Twitter. So now let's check out the intersection now. If 12 uses Instagram and Twitter, so now we just have to say 12 minus 8, then we get 4. So that when you say 8 plus 4, we get that 12. Because only 12 students uses Instagram and Twitter. Okay, moving forward, we are also told that 5 uses Twitter and WhatsApp. So since 5 uses Twitter and WhatsApp, we have we have 5 that uses Twitter and WhatsApp, not Instagram. You can even see that not Instagram. 5 uses Twitter and WhatsApp. Now we were also told that X uses Instagram and WhatsApp but not Twitter. So we have X here. All right. Now 61 uses Instagram. So now we have to say 61 minus 12. Then we're going to end up having 49 minus X. So it's going to be 61 minus 12 minus 4 minus 8 minus X. Negative 4 minus 8 is negative 12. So 61 minus 12, you can see that it's going to give us 49. So it's going to be 49 minus X. Then we come to this side again. We said 19 use Twitter only, so it's going to be 19 minus 4 minus 8 minus 5. Then we end up having 2. Then also we were told that 73 uses WhatsApp. So 73 minus 5 minus 8 minus X. That will give us 60 minus X. So that will be our Venn diagram. All right, calculate the value of X. That's easy. How do you calculate the value of X? We know that the symbol is total out of 100. So B, this last question which I'm doing for today, 60 minus X plus X plus 8 plus 5 plus 2 plus 49 minus X must be equal to 100. So when that is equal to 100, this is gonna be equal to 0. 60 plus 8, it's 68 plus 2, it's 70. 70 plus 5, it's 75 plus 49, it's 142. 142 minus X is equal to 100. Then 142 minus 100 is equal to your X. Then you end up having your X, which is equivalent to 42. Because 142 minus 100, it's 42. So our X value is 42. When you calculate the X values, you just add everything. Oh my word, I forgot to add this 14, because this 14 also we have to include it. Yes. Don't forget that 14, please don't forget that 14. All right. Now 10.3, the last one for today. On 10.3, it's saying calculate the probability that a learner chooses randomly uses only one of the 3 applications. If you use one of P, okay, the probability that you use one of the 3 applications, which means we only need these ones. We only need these guys, which uses only these ones. These ones, they don't use everything. They only use these ones only. So that we know that our X is 42. So 49 minus 42 is 7. So we're just going to have 7 plus 2. This 2. All right, then X 60 minus 42, we get 12. Not sorry, we get 18. Then it's gonna be 7 plus 2 plus 18 divided by total symbol, which is 100. Then we know that that will be 18 plus 2, 20. Then it's gonna be 27 over 100, which is the same as 27%. Is also the same as 0.2. So that's our probability, guys. If you have more questions, please don't forget to ask on the group. We have a WhatsApp group. We are also available on Facebook on Yebo Tutor. It was so nice to be with you. Thank you so much for having us. Have a blessed night, and I wish you all the best with writing your maths paper 1 on Friday. May God be with you. Stay blessed. Have a great evening.